to stay. Without pressure, without asking to be noticed, I close my eyes for a moment, not to escape, just to feel the stillness without distance. There was nothing missing, and we just quiet on the space between two distant sounds. That soft pause where nothing insists on existing. The room felt settled, like it had exhaled and decided to remain that way. I stayed inside that exhale. My foot rested lightly against the floor, not pressing down, just touching enough to feel grounded. The air moved gently across my arms, not cold, just present in its own quiet way. Outside, the window closed somewhere far below, a soft final ocean. It didn't interrupt anything. It became part of the stillness. I realized how rarely I allowed moments to remain untouched, without trying to shape them into something more. This one did indeed shape him. It already knew how to exit. breathing out when nothing was lost. The night carried on without needing me to notice, but I noticed anyway. I let myself remain inside its gentle movement, not separate from it, not observant from a distance, but included naturally, effortlessly. Somewhere beyond the walls, the world continued, and I continued with it, not chasing, not resisting, just present inside the quiet unfolding of now. Somewhere beyond the walls, the world continued, and I continued with it, not chasing, not resisting, just present. The quiet unfolding of now. I noticed the quiet in the space between two distance. Quiet felt different tonight, not deeper, just closer, like it had stepped forward slightly without making a sound. I didn't before it could be held. I didn't try to hold it, I let it belong to itself. The air around me stayed soft, carrying nothing I needed to release. There was nowhere else I needed to be. Somewhere in the stillness I stopped expecting something to begin, and realized everything already had. My breathing slowed without instruction, each inhale arriving naturally, each exhale leaving without resistance. I leaned back and let my weight settle. The chair didn't question it, it accepted me completely. I remembered how often I had resisted moments like this, afraid they meant nothing was happening, but something was happening, something quiet and permanent. Time moved without edges, without asking to be seen. I closed my eyes briefly, not to disappear, just to feel the shape of being here. There was nothing to improve, nothing to escape, only this gentle presence, this calm continuation of existing. I let myself remain inside it, without needing to understand. The night stayed open around me, and I stayed open with it, not holding, not searching, just carried by something soft that had always been here. The air had that late softness, the kind that settles quietly on your skin. Nothing dramatic, nothing asking to be noticed, just a calm presence already there. I shifted slightly in my seat, felt the fabric move with me, not resisting, not holding me in place. Outside, the world continued at its own pace, a distant engine fading into nothing. It didn't leave silence behind. It revealed it. I rested my head Somewhere along the way, I stopped trying to move faster than the moment, and the moment welcomed me back. The light from outside stretched gently across the wall, changing shape without effort. I watched it without thinking about time. There was nothing I needed to finish, nothing waiting for my attention, only this quiet continuation. My breathing stayed steady, carrying me forward without instruction. I let it happen. The space around me open. Breathing out, and everything stayed whole. I realized I wasn't waiting anymore. I was already inside the calm I had been searching for. It wasn't somewhere else, it was here, in the softness of this moment, in the quiet acceptance of being present. I let my shoulders relax completely. Nothing needed to be held up anymore. Just carried by the quiet rhythm of us simply being here. The room had that familiar stillness again. Not empty, just resting in itself. I noticed it the way you notice your breathing, only after it's already been there. I let it remain untouched. My hand rested near the edge of the table, fingers relaxed, slightly open. There was nothing to hold, nothing slipping away. Outside the night moved slowly, a distant light passing across the window and dissolving into darkness. I didn't follow it, I stayed here. There was comfort in not needing to move forward yet. Somewhere in the quiet, I realized I wasn't behind anything. I was exactly where I had arrived. The air felt gentle against my face, carrying no urgency. I leaned back without instruction. Not fast, not slow, just steady. I didn't need to follow it, it carried me anyway. I let my thoughts pass like distant lights, appearing briefly, then fading without needing to stay. There was peace in letting them go. The night stayed open around me, and I stayed open with it. Not searching, not waiting, just resting inside the quiet that had always been enough. Quiet felt warmer tonight, like the room had been holding its breath, and finally let it go. Nothing moved, nothing needed to. I stayed inside that release. My hands rested loosely in my lap, no tension left behind. I could feel the gentle weight of simply being here. Outside, the night carried its distant rhythm, a passing car fading slowly into space. It didn't pull me with it, it left me exactly where I was. There was comfort in not following and letting the moment exist on its own. Somewhere between stillness and breath, I stopped trying to arrive anywhere else, and the moment stayed with me. The air moved softly through the open window, touching my skin, then continuing forward. It didn't hesitate, it trusted me to remain. I leaned back and let my body settle fully. There was nothing to prepare for, nothing waiting to begin. Only this gentle continuation. Only this quiet presence. Breathing in, I felt the calm deepen. Breathing out, and everything remained whole. Time passed without asking to be seen, without asking to be understood. I didn't need to follow it, I was already moving with it. My shoulders softened completely, no effort left in holding myself together. Only myself settle into it. My foot moves slightly against the floor, not to go anywhere, just to feel the contact. There was something grounding in that simple connection. Outside, a light flickered briefly across the wall, then vanished as if it had never arrived. I didn't question it. Some things aren't meant to stay. They're meant to remind you you're here. I breathed in slowly, let the air fill space I hadn't noticed before. For a moment, nothing needed my attention, and that felt like peace. My shoulders relaxed deeper into the chair, supported without effort. The room accepted my weight completely. There was no resistance, no version of myself I needed to become. Only this quiet presence, only this calm continuation. The kind that doesn't ask questions, the kind that doesn't need answers. Breathing in, I felt time soften around me. Breathing out, and I softened with it. The silence carried its own quiet warmth. Not empty, not lonely, just open. I let my thoughts pass without holding them. They moved like distant reflections, appearing briefly, then dissolving without leaving anything behind. I stayed where I was, not waiting, not searching, just existing fully inside this moment. The night continued, its gentle unfolding, and I continued with it. Not separate, not ahead, just carried by something that had always been here. The room had gone quiet without me noticing when. Not suddenly, just gently, like light fading from a wall. I sat there long enough to feel it settle. Nothing asked for my attention, nothing needed to. My hands rested on my legs, still warm from the day. I could feel the faint pulse beneath my skin. Slow and steady, outside a car passed somewhere Time moved without asking for permission. Not fast, not slow, just steady. I let myself move with it, without resistance, without expectation. There was nothing to find, nothing to escape, only this gentle continuation of being here. The night stayed open around me, and I stayed open with it. Not holding on, not letting go, just resting inside the quiet that had always been waiting. Waiting. Last light of evening rested on the floor. Not bright, just enough to remind me it had been here all along. I didn't turn anything on. I let the room stay in that soft in between. My sleeve crushed against the side of the chair. The quiet sound of fabric returning to stillness. I noticed it more than usual. Outside, someone walked past without looking up. Their footsteps steady, unhurried. I wondered how many moments like this had passed me before, without leaving anything behind. I rested my hand against my arm, felt the warmth still there, proof that I hadn't disappeared inside the quiet. Somewhere between movement and rest, I stopped trying to choose and simply remain. The air through the window carried the faint scent of night. Something distant, something already complete. It moved across my face, then continued on. I didn't need it to stay. There was comfort in letting things belong to themselves. I leaned back slowly, letting my weight settle without effort. Nothing resisted me. Nothing asked for explanation. Breathing in, the moment widened. exactly here. I didn't need to hold the moment still, it held me without trying. Somewhere beyond the walls, time continued, and I continued with it, not chasing, not waiting, just carried by the softness of being here without needing more. Last light of evening, the last light of evening. The moment the last light of even moment or even moments the last light of evening rested on the floor. The last light, the last light of evening, the just carried by the softness of being here without needing more. The air had settled into something softer, like the day it finally stepped aside. Nothing else to change, it simply happened around me. I let myself notice it fully. My hand rested against the window, cool glass beneath my fingertips. I could feel the quiet outside, not as a sound, but as an absence of urgency. A distant light moved across the buildings, then disappeared into summer. I didn't need to follow, I stayed where I was. There was peace and not needing to move with every I realized I had already arrived. There was nowhere else I needed to be. My breathing slowed without instruction. Each inhale filling space gently. Each exhale leaving nothing behind. The room accepted me exactly as I was. No resistance, no expectation. Only presence, only calm. I leaned back and let my body soften completely. Nothing held me up except the quiet itself. Breathing in, I felt the night open around me. Breathing out, and I remained inside it. Time moved quietly through the space, not pulling me forward, not leaving me behind. Just continuing, I let my thoughts pass without holding them. They dissolved into the same stillness that held everything else. There was nothing to search for, nothing missing. Only this gentle continuation of being here. The night stayed open, and I stayed open with it. Not holding, not reaching, just resting inside the calm. That had always been enough. The quiet arrived without crossing a line. It simply replaced what had been there before. I noticed it in the way the room felt wider, like something had gently stepped back. I stayed inside that space. My hand rested against the fabric of my sleeve, feeling the faint warmth that hadn't left yet. Outside, the night continued without asking to be seen. A distant glow passing across the window, then fading into somewhere beyond reach. I didn't need to follow it. There was comfort in letting things remain incomplete, and letting the moment exist without definition. I leaned back slowly, letting my weight
between breath and stillness, I realized nothing was asking me to move, and I didn't need to.
The air carried a soft coolness across my face, not cold, just enough to feel alive. It didn't stay long, it didn't need to. Some things are complete in passing. I close my eyes briefly, not to disappear, just to feel the quiet without distance. The room stayed exactly as it was, and that was enough. Breathing in, I felt the moment deepen. Breathing out, and I remained inside it. Time moved without effort, without pressure, without asking to be noticed. I let myself move with it, not forward, not back, just present. There was nothing missing here, nothing waiting to begin. Only this gentle continuation, only this quiet permission to exist. The night stayed open around me, and I stayed open with it. Not holding on, not letting go, just rest inside the softness of simply being here. The night had that quiet glow again, not from light, but from the absence of movement. I could feel it in the way the room held itself. Nothing leaning forward, nothing falling away. I let myself remain there. My fingers rested against my arm, barely touching, just enough to feel warm. Outside, a distant window reflected something passing, a shape that didn't stay long enough to become a ring. I didn't try to follow it. There was peace in letting things belong to their own path. I stayed inside my own stillness. The air moved gently through the open space, not asking to stay, not needing to leave.
Somewhere between one breath and the next, I stopped needing the moment to change, and it became easier to stay inside it.
My shoulders soften without effort, the quiet support stayed open, and I stayed open with it, not searching, not holding. Just carry gently by the quiet rhythm of now. Trusted the moment to complete itself. I lean back slightly, letting everything settle naturally. Nothing resisted me, nothing asked for more. Only this quiet presence. Only this calm continuation. Breathing, I felt the moment open wider. Breathe out, and I remained inside it. Time passed without asking to be followed, or without needing to be understood. I didn't need to move ahead of it. I didn't need to fall behind. I let myself remain exactly here, inside the softness of now, inside the quiet rhythm of being. The night stayed open around me, and I stayed open with it. Not holding, not reaching, just carry gently. felt softer than it had a moment ago. Not because anything changed, but because I stopped resisting it. The room didn't move. It simply allowed me to notice it. I stayed inside that permission. My hands rested quietly on my knees. No tension left in them. Outside, a distant light drifted across the window, slow and quiet, like it belonged to another time. I watched it pass without needing it to stay. There was peace in letting things complete themselves, in letting the moment remain untouched. My breathing found its own rhythm, steady, certain. Somewhere between stillness and awareness, I realized nothing was missing. Nothing needed to arrive. The air carried a faint coolness across my skin, gentle enough to feel alive. I leaned back and let the quiet hold me. There was nothing to prepare for, nothing waiting on the other side of this moment. Only this calm continuation, only this quiet acceptance. The room stayed exactly as it was, and that was enough. Breathing in, I felt myself remain. Breathing out, and nothing left me behind. Time moved softly around me, not fast, not slow, just steady. I didn't need to follow it. I was already part of it, already carried by its gentle motion. I let my thoughts pass without holding them, leaving only calm behind. The night stayed open, and I stayed open with it. Not searching, not waiting, just resting inside the quiet that had always been here. The room had already gone quiet. Not suddenly. Just slowly enough that I didn't notice when. The air felt still, but not empty, like it was holding something gentle. I stayed where I was. My head rested against my arm, feeling the warmth that hadn't faded yet. Outside the night exactly as it was. The night stayed open, and I stayed open with it. Not searching, not holding, just carried gently by the calm that had always been here.